A forest is not just trees and trails. It is a living organism that breathes, watches, and sometimes hunts. We are used to thinking that Google Maps and GPS make us masters of the planet. But any ranger who has worked in national parks for more than a year will tell you otherwise. There are places where satellite signals do not reach, places where compasses go crazy, and the silence becomes so loud it ruptures eardrums. This story was sent in by a man named Elijah. In 2018, he took a seasonal job as a fire lookout in a remote sector of the Cascade Mountains, Washington. A dream job for an introvert. Sit high up, read books, watch for smoke. The nearest human being is 40 kilometers away. The first 2 weeks went perfectly, but on the 15th day, a storm began. Elijah sat in the fishbowl, as they call the glass-enclosed cabin of the tower, and listened to the wind trying to rip a roof off. The radio station, his only link to the world, hissed with static. At 2 a.m., a voice broke through the interference. Tower 4, copy. This is Tower 9. I have visual contact with a hiker. He is moving in your direction. Over. Elijah froze. Tower 9 had been decommissioned 5 years ago. No one could be there. He grabbed the mic. Tower 9, repeat. This is Tower 4. The 9th is closed. Who is speaking? Silence. And then the same voice, but now it sounded different. As if someone had recorded Elijah's voice and played it back slightly slower. Quote 3. Elijah grabbed his binoculars and aimed them at the trail leading to his tower. A flash of lightning illuminated the slope. There, a kilometer away, was someone. But he wasn't walking. He was crawling. A figure with unnaturally long limbs was scrambling over the rocks up toward the tower with the speed of a running dog. Elijah barricaded the trapdoor in the floor, the only entrance to the cabin. The next hour turned into hell. The radio came alive every 5 minutes and the voice got closer, not in volume, but in meaning. He is at the first staircase, Elijah. He is on the second platform, Elijah. He smells your fear. At 3:30 a.m., there was a blow to the hatch, a dull, powerful thud from below. Someone was trying to break through the thick wooden door. Elijah sat in the corner with a flare gun aiming at the floor. The blows continued for an eternity. And then, someone began to scratch the wood. Slowly, rhythmically, scritch, scritch. And the scariest part, the voice from the radio vanished. Now the voice came from right behind the trapdoor, a quiet, wet whisper. Open up. I brought your shift relief. In the morning, when the storm subsided and a supply helicopter arrived, Elijah was found in a catatonic state. The hatch was scratched on the outside so deeply it looked like bear claws, but there were no bear tracks on the stairs. There were only prints of bare human feet, too long, too narrow. The next case occurred in the Appalachians, on the Tennessee border, in an area locals call Devil's Ridge. In October 2020, a group of 3 experienced hikers, Mark, Sarah, and David, set off on a 3-day trek. Only Mark returned. He was found 2 weeks later, dehydrated, wandering along the highway. What he told the police was written off as hallucinations from hunger, but a found GoPro camera confirmed part of his words. On the second day of the hike, they found a strange clearing. It was perfectly round, and the grass there wasn't green or yellow, but gray, ashen. In the center stood a stone with a roughly carved arrow pointing into the thicket, where there was no trail. Mark suggested sticking to the map, but Sarah insisted on checking the underscore, quote, _1_. The footage shows them leaving the route. An hour later, the forest changes. The trees stand too close together. Bird sounds disappear. They walk for an hour, 2, 3. And suddenly they emerge into the exact same round clearing with the gray stone. Quote 2, David says on the video. They laugh, but nervousness is audible in their voices. They try again, carefully checking the compass. They walk strictly north. An hour later, the same clearing. But this time, something has changed. On the stone, next to the arrow, lies Sarah's backpack. Sarah stands next to the camera. Her backpack is on her back. She goes pale. "Is that my spare pack?" she asks with a trembling voice. They open the found backpack. Inside is food, rotted into sludge, and Sarah's diary. The last entry is dated 2025. At that moment, it was 2020. The video cuts out. Mark said that at night they heard someone calling them from the forest, with each other's voices. Sarah walked into the darkness thinking David was calling. David ran after her. Mark remained alone by the fire. In the morning, he walked out onto the clearing again. There lay not one backpack, but 3, all old, covered in moss. He ran for 3 days without looking back until the forest suddenly spat him out onto the road. Searches for Sarah and David yielded no results. No bodies, no tracks. Only that same clearing, which rangers were never able to find again, even though Mark provided exact coordinates. If the forest scares you with its openness, caves are a horror that embraces you from all sides. A story from a Speleo rescue team member from Kentucky. Let's call him Tom. The call came in on Saturday evening. A group of geology students was exploring an unmarked cave, and one of them, a guy named Alex, got stuck in a narrow squeeze known as a _0_Tom, and his team descended. The cave was _1. Air currents created a constant hum. When they reached the spot, they saw Alex's legs sticking out of the narrow crack. "Alex, don't panic, we'll get you out," shouted Tom. Alex's legs twitched, and from the depths of the squeeze came a voice. Alex's calm, steady voice. "Don't pull me. It's so spacious here. There is light here." Tom was surprised. The squeeze led to a dead end. It couldn't be spacious. They began work to widen the passage. While they drilled the rock, Alex continued to say strange things. Quote 4. The rescuers wrote it off as hypoxia and shock. 2 hours later, they managed to free the guy's torso. Tom grabbed him by the belt and pulled. Alex gave way easily, too easily. When they pulled him out, Alex had no head. The cut was smooth, surgically precise, but cauterized, as if by a laser or strong acid. But the creepiest part wasn't that. While they stared in horror at the body, from the depths of the narrow squeeze where they had just pulled him from, Alex's voice rang out again. Cheerful, perky. "Guys, where are you? I found the exit. Come to me, there's a whole world down here." The team abandoned the body and equipment. They scrambled to the surface in panic, breaking all safety rules. Tom quit a week later. He says he still hears that voice in the ventilation of his house. In the deep woods of northern Maine, a hunter named Jason stumbled upon something that defies explanation. He was tracking a deer and entered a sector he hadn't been to before. There, amidst the windbreak, stood a house. It wasn't an old cabin. It was a modern structure, clad in white siding. Perfectly clean, not a speck of dirt, no moss, as if it was built yesterday. But the house had one peculiarity. It had no doors and no windows, just a white cube with a gabled roof. Jason walked around it. No seams, no wires. He pressed his ear to the wall. At first, silence, and then the sound of footsteps inside. Heavy footsteps on a wooden floor. The footsteps walked up to the spot where Jason was standing, just on the inside of the wall, and stopped. Jason knocked with his knuckles. A knock came from inside in response, with the same force. Jason decided to leave. He retreated 50 meters, hid behind a tree, and began to watch through his rifle scope. Nothing happened for an hour. The sun was setting, and then, when twilight thickened, the wall of the house simply dissolved. It didn't open, it vanished. Inside burned a warm yellow light. Jason saw an ordinary living room. A sofa, a TV, working, showing static, a rug. Sitting on the sofa were mannequins. A family of 4 mannequins. They sat motionless, staring at the hissing screen. But then the underscore quote, _0, underscore mannequin, slowly, with the creak of plastic, turned its head directly toward the tree where Jason was hiding. The distance was huge. Jason was in camouflage. But the mannequin knew. The mannequin stood up. Its movements were jerky. It walked out of the house onto the grass and ran toward the forest. Jason didn't wait. He ran to his pickup truck so hard he nearly burst his lungs. He claims he heard behind him not footsteps, but the sound of plastic striking branches. Our final story is related to a phenomenon that forums call the photo bomber. In 2023, a hiker named Anna went on a solo trek along the Wonderland Trail. She took selfies at every kilometer to report back to her family. Communication was lost on the 3rd day. Anna was not found. Only her phone was found, wedged between rocks by a waterfall. Police restored the cloud storage. I will describe the chronology of the photos to you. Day 1, 10 o'clock. Anna's selfie with Mount Rainier in the background. She is smiling. In the left corner of the frame, deep in the forest, a blurry spot is visible. Looks like a person in a gray raincoat. Day 1, 1400. Photo of a rest stop. The underscore quote underscore 2 underscore stands behind a tree about 100 meters away. The face is not visible. It is lowered. Day 2, 8 o'clock. Anna photographs the sunrise. The figure stands right in the middle of the trail behind her. Now it is visible that it is not a raincoat. It is its skin. It is gray and hangs in folds, as if a couple of sizes too big. Day 2, 1800. Video. Anna is crying into the camera. Quote 3. The camera jerks. In the background, behind the tent, a hand with unnaturally long fingers is visible, slowly unzipping the fly. Day 3, 1:15. The last photo, taken in total darkness with a flash. The camera is pointed up. Looking down into the lens is Anna's face, but it is not Anna. The eyes are empty. The mouth is open too wide, the jaw literally resting on the chest, and it is worn on someone else. From under the mask of Anna's face, 2 small glowing red eyes stare out. The phone was found in perfect condition, not a scratch on it, even though it lay in a turbulent river. And in the gallery, there was another folder created after Anna's disappearance. It contained 500 photos. Black. Just darkness. But if you brighten them in Photoshop, each one shows sleeping people. Different people. In tents, in sleeping bags, in houses. Maybe right now that phone is taking a picture of you.